Hi everyone, my name is Ava and I'm an American living in the Netherlands, and I'm so excited to be making my first ever video as a new parent. Oh, it has been such an adventure. Our child is very small. She's so tiny, and it's a she. Here is that gender reveal that I promised you. And in today's video, I'm excited to share our adventure in what we went through in terms of giving birth to our daughter here in the Netherlands. And don't you love that I said we, when in fact it is my wife who went through the whole pregnancy and giving birth, and I was just a strong cheerleader on the byline supporting her. But nevertheless, we did go through this adventure together, and especially as an American living here in the Netherlands, I couldn't help but notice a wide variety of differences in the systems in terms of prenatal and postpartum care here in the Netherlands versus the United States. And of course, I haven't gone through this process in the US, but in this video, I wanted to share my experiences of what it is like to go through this process here in the Netherlands. And I think it really reflects so many cultural systemic differences between these two countries. So we're going to cover things like cost and postnatal care, where we talk about Kraamzorg here in the Netherlands. Dutch people are all too familiar with this, and I will go into it in more detail and not spoil anything more in the intro. So let's get into it. By the way, this is the nursery I'm in. I thought it was fitting for this video, and check out that Nijntje lamp in the back, Miffy, for those who are not familiar with her Dutch name. She is Dutch, from Utrecht, and she's dope. Love her. Now, with that said, I wanted to dive right into the hot topic of cost of giving birth in the Netherlands versus the United States. Now, it will come as a surprise to exactly zero of you that in the US, it can be incredibly expensive to give birth. Now, if you're lucky enough to have insurance, bulk of that is covered through insurance, but prices of health insurance in the US are also through the roof. So keep that in mind, because in the Netherlands, we have affordable healthcare. We in the Netherlands are not satisfied. We want even more affordable healthcare, but it's pretty good, especially when you compare it to the United States. So in the US, if you have health insurance, you're paying a lot. But if you don't have health insurance, well, let's just say giving birth can be a beautiful life moment or a financial disaster. What a wonderful game of relay that is. Now, it can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 in the US to give birth. Now, I don't know what this includes, and also the prices in the US kind of fluctuate, and it's not really transparent or clear what it's based on. Like, I think if you try to look up what procedures cost, they can vary extremely. So like an appendicitis can cost anywhere between a couple $1,000s to $100K. I mean, the cost can be made up in really strange ways. I once, I think, saw a post or a video of someone saying that she took a look at her hospital bill after giving birth, and there was a line in there that had some kind of fancy name for the nurse just taking her baby, wrapping the baby in the cloth, and handing it over to the mom. And that was a few $100s. I think she had a picture of it. I remember the picture, and it had like some amount of $100 or something like that, just for that one action. So this is how out of control it is in America. I am just as confused as you are, even as an American, okay? We've just learned to live with this. So giving birth in the US, anywhere between $10,000 to $30,000. So let's just hope you have health insurance, because if you don't, yikes. Well, but if you do have health insurance in the US, because here in the Netherlands, if you didn't have health insurance, you would still be paying a lot of money. So let's say you have health insurance, and then the average cost of giving birth in the US is somewhere around $2,800. Now, that's not terrible. That is not the $10,000 to $30,000, but when you compare it to the Netherlands, it is a lot. So you're kind of adding a zero in the US. Here in the Netherlands, your insurance covers kind of most of the process of giving birth, and your deductible is somewhere around 385 euros, if I'm not mistaken. And there are a couple of other out-of-pocket costs, but those aren't too high. So that is a fraction of the cost. And just for reference, this past year, I paid something like 120 or 130 euros per month for health insurance. So I think this says a lot. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that affordable healthcare is one of the reasons I love living in the Netherlands, because I just think that a country that is wealthy and can afford it should have the basic decency to provide affordable healthcare to people. Just saying. America, take notes. Okay, so in the US you pay a lot of money, in the Netherlands you pay some amount of money, but what are you getting for these costs? What are you getting in return? So here in the Netherlands, I can tell you that I have been so so happy with the process leading up to the delivery and also the actual delivery itself. Now in the US, when you find out you are pregnant and you're pretty sure and you want to go see a medical professional for it, you will most likely be seeing an OBGYN. My wife, when she lived in the US, could not wrap her head around how such an important person would just be called like an OBGYN. She's like, what kind of a word is OBGYN? So for reference, OBGYN is short for obstetrician and gynecologist. So it's not really an acronym. It should really be called OBGYN. But I don't know why people don't call it OBGYN. We call it OBGYN. And OBGYN is serious business. So you would go see them for the whole process. So here in the Netherlands, you would not see an OBGYN. Okay, I really need to stop trying to make OBGYN happen. That's not gonna catch on. So in the Netherlands, you wouldn't see an OBGYN. You would actually go to see a midwife. Now, a midwife is not an alternative option. It is not an option that you have in addition to a gynecologist. You have a midwife and that's it, unless your case is medical or there are any complications. So here in the Netherlands, there's a completely different system. And in the beginning, it was a huge culture shock to me because I had no idea how I felt about it. You know, I wanted a gynecologist. I wanted my OBGYN. But instead, we went to see a midwife. And from the first moment, I was just so happy because the vibe with a midwife and, you know, a midwife, like this is all they do. They just do prenatal care and deliveries and a little bit of postpartum care. But it's really, this is their main focus. This is their bread and butter. And they're also just mostly women, let's be honest. So the vibe is very, very nice. And in the Netherlands, the attitude towards this, as reflected in the system, is that giving birth, being pregnant, is not a medical case. It is something that's very natural. And the number of times here in the Netherlands I've heard women in Africa, oh my God, it could be a drinking game, but you might want to not drink as much when you're pregnant. So, you know, I guess it works out. But here in the Netherlands, it's very laid back. If you're pregnant, it's no big deal. Everyone's there to support you. And it's really, really not considered a medical case. In the US, they are hardcore. From what I understand, you're getting ultrasounds on the regular. You are going very frequently to your OBGYN. They are offering you options like epidural, you know, painkillers right off the bat, they're saying. In the US, this is very common. And I'm American, and let me tell you, if I were to go through this process, not planning on it, stop asking. If I were to go through this process, I would 100% go for the drugs because I'm American. I want the drugs. I want everything. I want to prevent any option of pain. In the Netherlands, women are more like, I'll see, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. Because here, if you want epidural or a higher grade painkiller, you need to go to the hospital. And that's something very many women don't want here in the Netherlands. And I'm gonna get into that just in a sec. But I wanted to say about the ultrasounds, for instance, here in the Netherlands, the basic package is that you get 3 ultrasounds in total. In the US, you're getting ultrasounds way more than that. Okay, so now I've told you how Dutch people, both men and women, you know, everybody is like quite laid back about being pregnant and giving birth. Now, what that translates to when it comes to the actual delivery is that very many Dutch women choose to give birth at home. In the US, giving birth at home is a very rare thing. Like if I think of people giving birth at home, I think of hippies in California doing that. And there are a slew of other qualities that go along with this hippie in California. You know, they're drinking green juice every day, that type of thing. Here in the Netherlands, it has no correlation with the type of person that you are. Just very many people opt for a home birth. And that's because they find being in their home really comfortable. Because there's this idea, again, that this is not a medical thing. This is very natural. Women in Africa, then you have the women in Africa again, also do it this way. So in the beginning, I told my wife, like, I know it's your body, your choice, but I really strongly prefer going to the hospital. But as I got more acquainted with the Dutch process, I started to change my view on it because I realized that in the Netherlands, the system is actually really good and they've thought about this in so much detail. So they have a whole list of reasons why you'll be referred to a hospital instead of being able to give birth at home. So there are a number of reasons for that, and it could be at any point. It could be some point during your pregnancy, it could be during labor, that then they move you to the hospital, and the midwife is there for you throughout this whole process. And she will then help you move to the hospital. So essentially the chances of something going wrong and you not being able to get to a hospital is practically zero. It's very safe. And also if you decide that you do want a epidural or another kind of painkiller that can only be provided to you at a hospital, then you can also do that. You could also decide when you were in labor, if you can even think that much, that you wanted to go to the hospital and get the drugs then. So once I learned this system, I was a bit more open to it. And I thought, okay, they're all legitimate choices. And now, my friends, we enter the best part of this whole process. I mean, honestly, this whole process has been so great. And in the moment, I did realize how good it was, but you're in the moment. So you are kind of like evaluating things, and it's very difficult to think, you know, more globally about what you're experiencing. But I think now that I've gone through this bit of my adventure, the adventure still continues, I promise. But this whole delivery process from pregnancy to postpartum care, we've gone through this bit, and I wanted to talk about what that's like in the US and in the Netherlands. In the US, you stay at the hospital for, I think, 1, 2, 3 nights. I'm not sure exactly what that number is, but if everything goes well, then that's the number you're looking at. And in that period, they show you how to do certain things like swaddle a baby, clean the baby, change the baby, etc. Now, here in the Netherlands, standardly speaking, even if you give birth in the hospital, within a couple of hours, they send you home because they assume you want to go home. They need the hospital and that bed, and they don't want you there if there is nothing wrong with you. So they're like, well, there we go, we're done. Congratulations, you get to go home, enjoy your baby. And I think from what I've heard around me, very many people also feel that way. They think, well, I'm done with this process. I want to go home and be with my family. So this works for everyone. So if you're American, you're probably thinking, wait, what? Like, you just go home with your baby? And if it's your first baby, like, how do you know how to do things? Like, who's there to take care of you? Well, the answer to that is Kraamzorg. Kraamzorg essentially translates to, I guess, very early newborn care, so just postpartum care. So when you have Kraamzorg, you have someone coming into your home for up to 8 days to take care of you. Now, if that sounds intense, that's because it is. I'm not gonna lie, it is intense to have someone in your home for 8 days when you or your partner have just given birth, there's a new baby, a new situation. But overall, they make your lives so much easier. You're gonna be amazed at the list of things I'm gonna go through of what they do. So first of all, this person who comes to your home is there for half a day and often just the full day. Well, and when they come, they check to see if the person who's given birth is doing well. All of you people saying, oh, the mom. Well, I'm also a mom, okay? Just because I didn't give birth doesn't mean I am less of a mom. But my partner, I mean, she is a superwoman for doing that. Absolutely. So anyway, they come in and they, check on the person who gave birth. Then they also check the baby and they show you and your partner and how to do that and what you should be looking for. They show you how to change the baby. Then they teach you some hygienic things, and something that will surprise Americans probably is that they also do stuff around the house. So they try to make sure, for instance, the bathrooms and the kitchen is clean so that if you've just given birth, you like lower the risk of infections. They also make food for you. If you have guests over to visit because you've just had a baby, they will make beschuit met muisjes. Oh, I'll have to tell you about that another time, about the customs and everything I've experienced there. So the Kraamzorg does a lot. Oh, and vacuuming. I mean, literally, and laundry. So they will do things around the house. That's not the main thing that they do. Their main purpose is to make sure that if you've given birth and you have a baby, that the baby and the parents, they're doing okay. And they're there to teach you things. So you learn so much. And the fact that it's at home, at first I thought that's super intense. Why isn't it just at a hospital? Because then it's just like at the hospital. It's not in my home. But the thing is, your home situation is very different from that of a hospital. No brainer. But hey, I was running on very little sleep, okay? Somehow I've managed to catch up on some of it. I know it's amazing, but I was running on very little sleep. So in those moments I was like, oh no, this is too much. But then I realized very quickly that your home situation is so different. So for instance, those Dutch stairs, they're not going to be there at a hospital, but in your home, they might be because you live in the Netherlands and your stairs are narrow and windy and you need to go up and down those stairs with the baby, and the kraamverzorger will show you how to do that. They even look and check to see if you have the right kind of, little pieces of cloth, diapers, clothing, etc. They tell you things like don't put the baby in a draft. In this part of your house, there is a draft, so don't put your baby here. And they'll see whether you have a crib or like a co-sleeper, we call it, this little crib upstairs that we have in our bedroom, you know, they'll give you tips on exactly what your situation is. And that is phenomenal because this is what you have to work with, right? Like they can tell you what they want at the hospital, but they don't know what you're working with at home. But here, there's someone literally in your home and they're just giving you tips. They're not judging at all. They're just there to help you work through things. And especially when this is your first time, I can tell you that this is fantastic. So those are some experiences that I wanted to share with you in terms of giving birth here in the Netherlands. I hope you found this interesting. And if you want to add something to the things I've mentioned here, please let me know in the comments down below. And as usual, until next time.